We've got a little less than 30 minutes now with our buddy Brandon Marcello, who is back with us. If you were with us last year at SEC Media Days up in Nashville, we had a great conversation with Brandon. Then we had a great walking tour of Nashville with Brandon. Then we had a great dinner with Brandon. It was a blast.
Yeah, the walking tour, I'm not so sure we walked in a straight line.
Well, you know what? So we kind of brought this up on Monday, Brandon, and our buddy, and cheers, by the way. Our buddy Richard Holland from Kicking It Coolers brought that bottle of Dickel by, and I think we were just going to have a sip.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, we're sitting here an hour later, that bottle is just completely knocked out.
Yeah,
and Dunaway gets a tattoo and rides a bull. And
talking life, man. Talking life.
We were this close to getting you a tattoo that night, but I'm glad it ended up working out.
Yeah, we did get the sales pitch. We get back, and Kelsey Dollar, our great salesperson, was like, "Hey, were you serious about that tattoo?" And I said, "I was when I was drunk, but not now." She was like, "Well, I sold it. We're going to do it Friday on the air if you'll still do it." And I was like,
nice.
"Let's do it. Let's do it." Yeah. So maybe she's got another one sold when we get back this time. So how are you, man? How's the life?
It's going well. Just doing some new things with CBS Sports, and been trying to take some time off, but now it's full speed ahead. I'm looking forward to – this has been great, but I'm looking forward to Big Ten Media Days next week. CBS is a partner with the Big Ten, and we're going to be all over that this year.
Is it anything like this? You've been before.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. It's the access is a little bit better.
Right.
It's in Lucas Oil Stadium, so it's wide open. The coaches come out. You get them for like 45 minutes sitting at a table. You get to go by and go ask them questions, much like with the players here. And it's a very nice setup. And Indianapolis is just fantastic.
Are they going to keep it going there? Because we're talking about, we said, hey, maybe next year, because the Big Ten looks like it's coming down to two conferences. We might as well send split squad to SEC and a split squad to Big Ten.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially if they get the access like that. But it's going to be an Indy moving forward?
I think so.
Chicago forever, remember?
I think so. It's been in Indy for quite a few years now. The setup's great, and Indianapolis is so easy to navigate. Hotels are in abundance. You can easily walk to Lucas Oil Stadium from anywhere in downtown. It's a great, great spot. And, listen, that's Big Ten country, obviously. That's where they've had the Big Ten championship game forever. I don't see them moving it unless, I'll say this, Tony Petitti, the conference commissioner there, he likes the West Coast. They had their spring meetings outside of L.A. at a posh resort. Not a lot of the ADs like that, having to go all out there and spend all that money, but he's kind of keen on the L.A. area. So who knows? Maybe we'll see some things there.
Guarantee you they won't go to Seattle. So let me start with the negative. Nobody's asked this question. Who is going to be the biggest disappointment of 16 strong this year?
Dang, man, that's a great question. Why not just say Texas? And, they went up today, and I'll say Texas. And the reason for that is because I still think we're underplaying the loss they have of the two generational defensive tackles. Those two guys, Byron Murphy, led by Byron Murphy, if you go look at the analytics by Pro Football Focus, which they're hot and cold, but consistently they pick out the elite guys year to year. They were the top two defensive tackles in all of college football last year, according to the analytics, and they're on the same team. They ate things up. They changed that entire defense. They were generational players playing side by side at tackle on the same team. They do not get to the playoff last year without them. And this year, I wonder if Texas is going to be able to go through that day-to-day, week-to-week grind in the SEC and do so without that depth at defensive tackle and along that defensive line.
Well, what's disappointment to them? Just not making the playoffs, 9-3?
Yeah, 9-3, 8 wins, 8 or 9 wins. I could see that happening for the Longhorns this year.
8-4 would be a disaster.
Yeah. Well, hey, Steve Sarkisian said that 8-4 is a little bit more passable in Texas after you go 5-7 your first year, but he didn't want to revert back to an 8-4 year.
Not when the next year was college football playoff.
No.
And yeah. I mean that would be because I think most people start the conversation saying, okay, Texas and Georgia are in the playoffs. Let's talk about the rest of them.
Well, I mean, we even asked Quinn Ewers, is it national championship or bust? And I forgot he started with well, that's a good question, but, and I don't know exactly how he finished that
He started
up.
talking about last year we got in trouble. We put some things.
Oh, he did something.
We bye week, Oklahoma.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this. He goes, this year we can't look forward to January 20th. And then we're like, but dude, you know the date of the game. Yeah, you know the date
but don't
of the
you
game.
just like Will Howard from Kansas State, Ohio State? He owned it at the Manning Passing Academy. He was like, It is national championship or bust. And I think when you're in those situations, I think there are 5 teams. I think Oregon's in that group. I think Alabama's still in that group. If you don't win a national championship, it's a disappointing year.
It absolutely is. And, goodness gracious, I think the prime team for that is Ohio State. I mean, one, they can't lose to Michigan again, but not just that, but they have to get into the playoff and make noise and win the national championship. That's a lot of hurdles to jump, and they've prepared themselves. They set themselves up for what could be a very disappointing year if they don't win a national championship. You go hire a head coach to be your OC, you kill it in the transfer portal, you get Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss. You have built that thing up to do nothing but either meet the expectation or a complete disappointment. Not exceed expectations, but meet them by winning a national title.
I had an Uber driver, just to put this in perspective, here in Dallas this week, and he was bringing me back here to the Omni, and he was like, "How do you like the Omni?" I said, "It's a fantastic hotel." He goes, "I'm a big Ohio State fan. We watch every Saturday in the owner's box, which that's the sports bar here in the Omni, great sports bar." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What's the turnout like?" He goes, "There's normally every table, every seat in the owner's box is full of Ohio State fans," which sounds miserable. And here's his next sentence. He goes, "This Ryan Day guy." So when you call this Ryan Day guy,
and what is his winning percentage? 91% or something.
I mean, like his only losses are to Michigan, pretty much in the regular season.
And the rest of the sentence was, "This Ryan Day guy. It's a big year for him, man. We've given him everything he wants. We've bought this roster. We gave him a head coach as an offensive coordinator. He better deliver."
And you know what? He won't even get credit if they win it all. I still think people are going to be critical.
I think so too, especially if because they'll go, well, it's his job to hire the defensive coordinator they've got in Jim Knowles. It's his job to go out there and get a guy like Chip Kelly. They're the ones who turned this thing around because we weren't doing it without them. And then the only new thing is those two guys. I think I do question, what happens if they win. Let's say they go 10-2, right?
Yep.
And Michigan beats them again.
Oh no!
And they get left out of the Big Ten championship game, and as a result, could potentially be on the cusp of missing the playoff, even with those 2 losses in the Big Ten, depending on what the other teams are doing. Do they fire Ryan Day after a 10-win season?
Well, think about here's the records real quick.
Okay.
13-1. 7-1 in COVID, 11-2, 11-2, 11-2. Like the narrative would be completely different if they got aggressive.
One
with
set
CJ
of downs.
Stroud.
One set of downs changes it for him.
Yeah, and then they beat Georgia and they end up beating TCU going away. But you could go back the last 3 years if they just win the Michigan game. They're 12-1, 12-1, 12-1.
Right.
But don't they have and I'm the old guy, I should know this, but don't they have a precedent of that? Wasn't Cooper a guy that won a lot of games and just didn't beat Michigan and they got rid of him?
That was the big thing. Yeah, absolutely. And Ryan Day, that storyline was coming up going into the game last year about him doing something that hasn't been done since those years. And I think that how does a coach in that rivalry historically survive losing that many games in a row to your rival Michigan?
And then they win the national championship too, Michigan does.
Right. I mean, here's the other thing. Like what if they lose to Michigan and Michigan makes the playoff and makes noise, and Ohio State is sitting at home? Even if Michigan's probably not going to win the national championship this year, but that is all possible. I mean, Ohio State is loaded, but
their schedule is so beneficial, though, Brandon.
Certainly.
Just looking at this, they go to Oregon, which is going to be tough, at Penn State, and then Michigan to close it out. If they go 10-2 with their brand, they're going to get in. Yep. You just wonder if they lose a game they're not supposed to because Ryan Day puts so much pressure on himself, knowing if he doesn't do the things that we've said, that he's in a lot of trouble.
How funny would it be that Oregon's first year they come in from the Pac-12 and they win the Big Ten championship?
What if Oregon and Texas in their first years?
I think Oregon, out of all the teams out there, Oregon is the team that is most built like Georgia from the depth perspective.
Well, you can understand why. Yeah.
Right. But the depth perspective, but also what they've got in the trenches. I really like Oregon this year. I'm on the cusp of picking them to win the Big Ten in the media poll coming up.
Oh, wow. Media poll here, by the way, at the SEC Media Days will be released on Friday. Votes happening as we speak. No divisions anymore here, so that makes it a little unique.
What is your concern with Oregon? My only concern is I think they've got the roster. I love Dylan Gabriel, too. My concern is Dan Lanning in these big games. He has made some mistakes, and I think coaches learn. We saw Kirby make mistakes early on. But, Lanning got completely outcoached twice, or really 3 times by Kalen DeBoer.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, just because Michael Penix is just such a gamer. I was really impressed in their regular season matchup with the coaching job that Dan Lanning did in that game. Having said that, I also think that they have got themselves in a position to where their defense, I think, this year is going to be dominant, and not so one that's kind of just hot and cold throughout the season. I think they're built week to week to be a top 8 type of defense, and you do that in the Big Ten. There's going to be low score. Here's the other thing. There's going to be more low-scoring games in the Big Ten than what Oregon faced in the Pac-12 week to week, and that's going to favor them. I know people are going to be like, Oregon playing in cold weather and all this stuff and do it. That actually is going to help Oregon based off the way, as I said again, they built that defense depth-wise up front.
Do you know, and Brandon Marcello is with us from CBS Sports 24/7, do you know, and this may not be something that is spoken of publicly or whatever, but when Phil Knight passes, which Phil Knight is 80-ish, 86, what does that mean for Oregon football? Does anybody there have any idea? Like, has Phil Knight told them, hey, I've got it set up for you guys, we're good?
Maybe so. I don't know. I have no idea.
Because that would seem to impact, like when T. Boone Pickens passed.
Yeah.
How did that affect Oak State? Did he have a trust set up that continued to –
I think so. The money's still coming into there. I would think Oregon has something set up. And yeah, I mean, like you said, their NIL program right now is absolutely insane.
It's so synonymous with Nike. I mean, there's no way there's never a relationship there.
Right. And, there's the other thing. I mean, Nike's got a really great, deep relationship with Washington, too. But that's overshadowed by Oregon. I mean, they got a really good relationship up there that doesn't really talk about, and they help them out, too, with the player retention aspect of it. But, Oregon's set. I mean, here's the other thing is imagine what Oregon can be if they do get that thing rolling this year or next year and make a playoff run or get in a national championship game with all that money they've got, because they're just pulling whoever they want right now. I mean, here's the thing. If you can do that with the high school class and you keep them there on campus and you're developing them in your program instead of having to go in the transfer portal, I still believe those are the teams that are going to be year to year, like Georgia, that are in the national championship hunt year after year instead of once every 3 years at best.
But how do you do that when you can be a free agent every year? It's just good business for me to go to my coach if I'm at Georgia and say, hey, am I getting more NIL next year? Because Texas is telling me I can make this much if I go with them, or Alabama is telling me I can make this much if I go to them. How can you keep a player from basically being a free agent every year till we change the rules?
Certainly, but I also think that at some point that money becomes negligible. What's an extra $50,000 if they're getting paid,
Well, what I've seen today is a necklace. Yeah.
When we talk about Oregon, I'm not certain anybody's going to outspend Oregon if they want to really keep a guy.
Right.
I really don't.
I feel that way about Ohio State right now, too.
To a certain extent, but also wait till if they have a bad season, that support will start to wane a little bit. The NIL situation will not be as good as it is right now.
Well, now we were told this week by someone that I trust that right now Sark isn't tapping into all the money that's available to him at Texas. He's trying to build it with chemistry guys.
Same thing is going on at Auburn right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're spending some money, but they're holding back. They're waiting for the time to strike here the next year or two. Not a lot of programs, but several programs are taking that approach.
Now, why is Auburn doing that, do you think?
They want to get high school kids in there, develop them for a couple years, and then complement that through the transfer portal by paying out the wazoo to get some guys. That's why you didn't see them go pick up a transfer portal quarterback this year. There were some really good guys that would have fit really well in that system, and Auburn didn't even sniff them because they've got a plan in place. I'm telling you, year 3, year 4, watch out for Auburn in the NIL space.
So that's super interesting. So you think they're building the foundation here.
Yeah.
And then it'll be
people I talk to there and around the recruiting circles. That's what they understand. That's what the plan they're doing right now.
So Hughes' plan would be make sure you got the foundation and then
through high school kids.
Yeah.
You add some pieces to the transfer portal, of course. You're not going to completely ignore that. But when you want to go get a difference maker or whatever, do it when it's year 3 and 4 where you're not pissing off the high school kids you brought in year 1, year 2 and having them leave. Keep them, build that core, develop them, and then complement that, pepper that with 3 or 4 real big pieces that can change.
Yeah,
things.
I don't know if you agree with this. I think the top 3 coaches in this league are obviously Kirby Smart. I would go Kalen DeBoer and Brian Kelly. But outside of that, do you have Hugh? I'm a big Hugh Freeze guy. Do you have him in the top 5 of coaches?
I don't know. He's in the top half.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say I don't know is because I want to see how he does with this plan and in this new era. We have 2 Hugh Freezes, right? We got pre-NIL to post-NIL, and he's got like a 1 or 2 year late start in the NIL situation because he didn't have to deal with that at Liberty. Now he's dealing with that at Auburn where the place was a crater. So I need another year or 2, or I need 2 years. 2 more years before I can judge Hugh Freeze.
This is not meant as a shot at Hugh Freeze. It's going to sound like one, but we saw him operating in the NIL world at Ole Miss. It just wasn't. We did. I mean, but
And it was working out.
It was working out. That was my
so.
point. I mean, they were recruiting in the top 5 at Ole Miss when he was obviously doing things the NCAA didn't like.
Right, he can talk, and when you can talk and you have money, it's a good combination, right?
Yeah, and I think they're going to make the chatter in the background among opposing coaches around the SEC is that Auburn's going to do some things late in this signing process with high school kids that are going to really surprise some people with some of the talk that's going on.
They're going to use your plan.
My plan has always been, before I tell you about Precision
By the way, it's
Sports,
not a good plan.
listen to the strategy. You tell me if you think this would work.
My plan has always been, when you take over a program where Auburn was, is for a class like this, you get them to publicly commit to your rival, and then we have a whole.
He's not done.
We have a day that we just text out flip.
I see Taylor shaking her head. She does.
Flip. Just the word goes out in a group text. Flip.
Flipmas.
And then all of a sudden everybody's just boom. I'm now I'm decommitted from this school. I'm going to
some
Auburn.
of that does happen. Some of that is orchestrated now to a certain extent where it's just a widespread, like, all right, 5 guys, we're going to do this. But it happens with some.
I thought he was going to go with your family gets a suite if you sign with us.
Oh, yeah, I do have an old
plan.
one.
Yeah.
They got that old scoreboard and that old end zone. They've got a plan now, but I said just build 85 suites, and you come here, your family gets one of the suites.
Yeah. More.
It's a plan.
More stadiums should just build housing, like some
right.
apartments, and
Yeah.
hey, your family can come live here and watch practices and games.
That was the old school way of building a stadium, is you built the dorms.
Dorms in there. I remember going to OU once about 12 years ago, and they still had some of the housing in the stadium. You couldn't get to it anymore, but it was kind of closed off. It's still in there.
Tiger Stadium, Baton Rouge, still is.
Old school.
Really, I didn't know that.
That's how the only way it was built, and it's on the press box side.
Yeah.
The side that faces the sunset. When the sun finds its home in the western sky, it's on that side. And you could, at least when I started covering, you could still make your way down and see the dorm rooms.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Jacksonville State did it. My old school did it.
Yeah?
Yeah, and it's new. I mean, it's usable dorms, but it's like they did this huge expansion, and the first 5 or 6 floors are dorms, and the top 2 are press box and suites.
Okay.
It's a smart way of doing it. Get some funding.
I'm telling you, old can be new again.
That's
Everything
right.
comes back in circles.
Well, speaking of new and bells and whistles and stuff, we were talking about Oregon. You've been to a ton of campuses just talking to coaches and covering the game for a long time. Like if you could put yourself as a recruit, what would be the top 5 campuses, facilities that would blow you away?
That would blow me away.
I mean, is Oregon in that top 5?
Facility-wise, yes. I do think that they do face an issue with just it being so out there in a lot of ways. It's too far out there for a lot of kids, even on the West Coast.
And no easy way to get there, right?
There's not.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Blows me away.
He kills me all the time. His plan is that he has charter planes.
That's right.
Like if he's recruiting the Dallas area, a charter plane to fly to Oregon games. That was your plan the other day,
No,
right?
my plan was you fly the recruit's family private when you were recruiting them.
Oh, just
and
recruiting.
that way they don't see how difficult the commute is.
Yeah.
Like if you're going, just A to B, if we're going from Dallas to Eugene, which you can do in a PJ, that's the way to do it. And then the family's like, damn, that wasn't bad. That was 2.5 hours. That's right. What they don't realize is they got a connector in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
They got one in Portland.
Our friends at Precision Sports Medicine and Orthopedics provide you great health care. 205-512-3885. 512-3885. PrecisionSportsOrtho.com/2024. Tweaks and pulls and pains and breaks. They diagnose it all. They treat it, and then they help you through the rehab process. Locations in Jasper and Alabaster and everywhere around the Birmingham area. Orthopedic care, better together. Find your provider today. Again, the number 205-512-3885. Visit precisionsportsortho.com/2024. I've used them. My daughter's used them. LT's used them. Just great folks there with Precision Sports.
All right, Brandon's got to bounce in a second. Fozzie Whitaker in the on-deck circle. He's about to come on and join us. Before you go, you've got to, you know this, you got a great job. You go to all these games when you want to. Give me the ones you circled early on. Where do you where do you know you're going?
I'm going to tell you right now, I honestly haven't looked.
So you haven't even circled like Ohio State, Oregon?
Not yet. Nope, I haven't done it. That's my plan after Big Ten Media Days.
Okay,
just to go through and.
I'm
going to
recommend Ohio State, Oregon.
Okay, yeah, I have not done it. I know I should have, but I haven't done it yet.
Oh, I would do Tennessee and Oklahoma.
That's week 4, right? Something like that.
Well, this is the same day. No, wait a minute. Auburn, Oklahoma is the same day as Alabama, Georgia, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I think you're week 4. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but Oklahoma, Tennessee, with those storylines, we had Dusty Dvorak on, and he was kind of telling us the backstory with Heupel and Stoops.
Yeah.
That one will be good. Oregon, Ohio State. You got to be at Texas A&M this year,
yes,
right?
Absolutely, you do. I think also it's a sneaky game potentially. Florida, Texas.
Florida, Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, here we go. I mean, I'm connecting the dots now. He sort of hinted that Texas could be the disappointment in the SEC.
Billy Napier fighting for his life.
Billy Napier needs a big win.
That's right. All right,
we're gonna take a draw.
We're gonna play some games
Pull
here.
one
before you go. All right, that's your gift for open it up. That's your gift for just coming on. And then we're going to test your athletic abilities here. Yeah. Brandon also in a drawing for a Roback
Red
gift
Lobster.
card. Red Lobster.
Yeah, all right.
Flavor Flav.
Are they in business?
Yeah.
Everybody that wins it.
Well, I would say use that
Some
card.
places.
Use that card as quick as that.
I would too.
Yeah.
Brandon is going to play the game here. He is also in our drawing for Roback gift card, $250 gift card, roback.com, code TNR20 at checkout.
I suggest going overhand. It seems like people, and I don't know if you guys would agree, they've had better luck with that. We've had 2 personalities hit both.
Roman Harper and Quinn Ewers.
Can you help him out real quick and stuff that coffee in the
you think that may balance it out?
Yeah. Stuff that down there for him, LT. You know how to do it. There you go.
All right, here we go. Brandon Marcello, CBS Sports.
Yep. Big Ten Network now.
Brandon's got one.
That was way off.
All right, well, you got a prize in this one, though.
I feel the top denomination in this one.
Well, we've only had that once, and we've had the second denomination once.
Yeah.
$3,000. What'd you get? 50. Hey.
Hey, 50. Hey.
All right.
Good, brother.
Look at that. The price is right, Bob.
$75 on the leaderboard for Brandon Marcello.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go buy bourbon.
Yeah, some people in the chat room are like, where's Brandon's bourbon? We didn't have it.
Hey, that's my question.
We gave him a Bud Light.
That is my question,
That is my question, too.
That is my question,
That is the one burning question I have at SEC Media Days. Where's my bourbon?
Where's my bourbon?
At B. Marcello on Twitter. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Thanks, gentlemen. It's always great.
Great to see you, man.